I will be a friend to man." "Oh dear," Mother sighed, glancing back at the kitchen as she went out the door. "I suppose I really shouldn't go to the program tonight and leave so many dishes unwashed. I wish we had a dishwasher." "Hurry, Mother," called Father, already sitting in the car. "I'll have to do them when I get back," Mother thought, closing the door and running to the car. But unknown to Mother, Connie, lying in bed, had heard Mother's sigh. And as the car drove off, she thought, "Poor Mother. She has to work so hard. She will have to do those dishes before she can go to bed." She lay for a few minutes thinking about all the work Mother had to do, when suddenly a lovely idea came to her. She could wash the dishes while Mother was out. Quick as a wink, she slipped out of bed and went to the kitchen. She ran hot water into the sink and set to work. First, she did the glasses, the knives and forks, and the dishes. Then she tackled the pots and pans. And she didn't stop there. She took out the garbage. Then she made the top of the stove look like new. She put everything away that was out of place and scrubbed the sink till there wasn't a black mark anywhere. Then she folded the dish towels and hung them neatly on the rack. She stepped back and surveyed the kitchen. It was spotlessly clean. And then she happened to glance at the clock. It was almost time for Mother and Dad to be back. Quickly she ran to bed. None too soon, for scarcely had she covered up before she heard the car stop in front of the garage. She heard Mother and Dad walking to the back door. "Thank you for a nice evening," Mother was saying to Father. "And now I suppose I'll have to do those dishes." Connie almost laughed out loud, but managed to smother the sound in the pillow. She wanted Mother to think she was asleep. The back door opened. Father turned on the kitchen light. "Well, I never," Mother gasped. "Will you just take a look at this kitchen, Father? Connie must have cleaned it." They went straight to Connie's bedroom. "Connie," Mother whispered. No answer. "Connie, are you awake?" Still no answer. Then Daddy thought he detected a slight movement under the covers, and Mother was sure she heard a giggle. They sat down on the edge of the bed, and Mother took Connie's head in her hands. "Did you do all those dishes while we were out?" Mother asked. Connie just smiled, but her eyes were sparkling. "Thank you very, very much," Mother said. "It was a lovely surprise." "And I've been thinking," said Dad, "Connie deserves a day off tomorrow. That's what being a friend to man means. Doing nice things for people. And is there any better place to begin than by being friends to Mom and Dad?" Some interesting reading. If you want some interesting reading for Friday night or Sabbath afternoon, get out a copy of The Desire of Ages and read 2 chapters, As a Child and Days of Conflict. As a Child talks about Jesus when he was a boy. Days of Conflict tells what happened when Jesus was a teenager. In spite of all the troubles Jesus went through, he was always a friend to man. From his earliest years, he was possessed of one purpose. He lived to bless others. The Desire of Ages, page 70. And also, page 72 of the same book tells us that Jesus lived in a peasant's home and faithfully and cheerfully acted his part in bearing the burdens of the household. Jesus worked to relieve every case of suffering that he saw. He had little money to give, but he often denied himself of food in order to relieve those who appeared more needy than he. His brothers felt that his influence went far to counteract theirs. He possessed a tact that none of them had or desired to have. When they spoke harshly to poor, degraded beings, Jesus sought out these very ones and spoke to them words of encouragement. To those who were in need, he would give a cup of cold water and would quietly place his own meal in their hands. As he relieved their sufferings, the truths he taught were associated with his acts of mercy and were thus riveted in the memory. Desire of Ages, page 87. There are times, I'm sorry to say, when some Pathfinders get to feeling rather proud of themselves. "We keep the Bible Sabbath," they say. "We have health reform and Christian schools and the spirit of prophecy." Well, all these things are good, but there are many young people without them who can set us a good example of what Mr. Strand saw as he gazed out the window should have made him happy. Instead, it made him very sad. 5 acres of apples were ripe and ready to harvest, and he didn't have the strength to pick them. For much of his life, he had been a boiler fireman, and harvesting the apples every year had been child's play. But there had been an accident, and now he was laid up in the house, helplessly watching the apples ripen and rot. "Stop worrying about those apples," his wife called from the next room. "It's no great loss if we don't harvest them." Laura, won't you ever understand?" Mr. Strand answered patiently. "We have to pay taxes on those 5 acres, and after all the doctor bills from my accident, I don't know where we'll find the money." "I could ask the boys down the road to pick them," suggested Mrs. Strand. "What do boys these days know about picking apples? They'd bruise the fruit, and then we couldn't sell it anyway." Mrs. Strand saw that nothing she could say would do any good, so she kept quiet, but not for long. A few minutes later, she was shouting from a front window, John, the high school bus has stopped outside our house, and a lot of boys are getting off. They've gone into the shed and got our fruit ladders, and now they're swarming over our trees like bees." "The thieves!" stormed Mr. Strand. "They must have known we had those apples and forced the bus driver to bring them here so they could get all they wanted." "Don't get so excited," said Mrs. Strand calmly. "I see Gary Oppenheim among them. He lives next door. I'll ask him what it's all about." Gary explained, "Ma'am, we boys heard that Mr. Strand couldn't pick his apples this year, so we thought we'd come over and help. And you needn't worry about the apples being picked right. We're all members of the Future Farmers of America Club." "Oh, that's wonderful of you," said Mrs. Strand, wiping away a tear. "And you will give me a list of all the boys' names so I can thank them by letter, won't you?" All the apples were picked that afternoon. Sometime later, Mrs. Strand asked Gary why he hadn't given her that list of names. "Oh," he said, "the boys have been too busy to give me their names." "Now look," said Mrs. Strand. "You can't fool me. Those boys didn't want to be thanked. Isn't that right?" Gary blushed. "We've been having grand weather lately, haven't we?" he said. Soon all the apples were sold. The boys made sure of that, and they gave all the money to Mr. Strand. There was plenty to pay the taxes and some left over. As for Mr. Strand, who lives in Oregon, he thinks modern boys make wonderful friends to man. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was very useful to you. And once again, if you have any comment or question, just feel free to type it in the comment section. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I wish you all the best.